Geometry was never just a subject for me. It was always a relationship. I grew up in the 1980s. No internet, and one house phone that somehow everyone needed at the same exact time. With nothing to scroll and nowhere to click, I learned with my hands by default. Okay. My dad was an engineer, and I was his assistant, which was basically code for putting my hands exactly where they didn't belong. Curiosity is just faster than permission. Sorry. And one day, I finished a job he had started. He looked at my hands and said, "These are engineer fingers. I told you." I took that moniker to heart. Those fingers weren't just for fixing stuff. They were a mindset. I loved learning about the world. By touching it, testing the limits, and having the guts to dive in until it finally clicks. Over time, geometry became part of how people knew me. My family, my friends, even Zuza, my cat. I wanted to be an engineer, but I was the oldest in a family full of pharmacists. That path was already paved. Engineering wasn't usually the first option suggested for girls anyway, so I became a pharmacist. And for a while, that seemed like the end of the geometry story. But I wouldn't let the story end here. In pharmacy school, I studied every branch of science, but I was always drawn to industrial pharmacy, the engineering of it. I loved the process, how systems are built, how machines evolve, how one tiny adjustment can solve a problem. And once I got a grip on how a process worked, I turned it into a story using funny visual sketches, just trying to make sense of it. Oh, I didn't realize it then. I wasn't just sketching. I was translating complex systems into something I could finally see. Growing up in Egypt, history wasn't a textbook. It was just everywhere, layers of it. Ancient Egypt, Roman, Coptic, Islamic, all woven into the background of my everyday life. What stayed with me weren't timelines or names. It was the human stories hidden inside buildings. I grew up in Mansoura, walking past this one ordinary-looking house every day. It was the house of Judge Ibn Luqman, where the French king Louis IX was held captive after a failed Crusader campaign. I walked past it often as a child. I didn't know the history then, but I knew it wasn't just another house. And that's when I first realized spaces carry meaning. I was always sketching, usually hunting for symmetry and pattern, but everything finally clicked when I found Islamic geometry. As I worked with the designs, questions started to emerge. How do these designs repeat in such precision without ever feeling boring? How does a single circle open up into all this complexity? And how can a few simple rules create endless variation? Slowly, I realized these designs aren't meant to show images. They are meant to express ideas. A curved stone screen filters sunlight while preserving privacy. A tiled floor isn't just a pattern. It's a quiet sense of order that never ends. A dome isn't just a roof. It pushes its weight outwards, clearing a quiet void that tells your brain you're safe and free. And once I picked up a compass and straight edge, geometry stopped being something I just looked at. It became something I understood by doing. And then I found Montessori. It didn't feel new, it felt very familiar. I loved the art of the process, the observation, the adjustment, the way the environment is intentionally shaped around children's curiosity. That feels like engineering, right? But for humans. At the very beginning of my elementary diploma, I introduced myself to my students by sharing my childhood dreams of becoming an engineer. I brought my vintage drafting tools into the classroom. I covered the walls with my geometric designs. The children's reaction said everything. Wow, did you really draw this? How long did that take you? At the time, I was just thinking I was just decorating the walls. I didn't realize that I was laying the groundwork for something bigger. Then came that child, I'm bored, I don't know what to do, and the long stare into the ceiling. And one day, I told him, you know what? What if I show you something new with your ruler and my compass? We started with circles, then we bisected them, then again and again. Soon, we were building an entire polygon network. I told him why I believe the circle is the mother of all polygons. Then the daily question wasn't, what do I do? It was, can I learn a new design today? A few weeks later, I ran into him in a store. He looked at me and said, Ola, I bought a geometry kit with my own money. That's when it all aligned. That wasn't just about geometry anymore. It was the moment geometry became his. From that moment on, I started designing geometry lessons rooted in architecture, nature, and culture. Together, my students and I traveled across time using nothing more than a compass, a straight edge, and curiosity. Across cultures, shapes appeared again and again, not because humans copy each other, but because geometry solves real problems. Arches carry weight. Grids organize space. Domes span vast areas. And right there, something shifted for me too. I realized geometry doesn't belong in my notebook anymore. It belongs in the classroom, alive, not as a set of answers, but as a series of questions, not as a formula to memorize, but as an invitation to build. Geometry wasn't just my passion anymore. It became my bridge, the way I connected engineering to culture, art to history, and my Montessori classroom. And geometry itself, it's just humanity telling the same story over and over in different accents. What my work with my students showed me is this. Geometry isn't just a content. It's a process, a language humans have shaped across cultures and centuries to make meaning and tell our stories. And when I changed how I taught this language, children changed how they saw themselves. Not just as students, but as architects, as designers, as artists. Geometry is the story of how humans organize the world. And when they are invited to experience it for themselves, they realize they belong to that story, just as I did. Thank you.